All right, are we unmuted, everyone? Thank you so much for joining today. For today's live stream, we got a very special guest, Josh from Faulks Digital. Josh is a Fiverr top-rated seller and YouTuber. You can find a link to his YouTube channel in the description. And we're just going to be running a Q&A today for anyone trying to sell on Fiverr, getting into freelancing. These live streams are for you all. So yeah, we'll get into it as the comments start coming in. But Josh, I'll give you a second to just, introduce yourself and let us know who you are and what you do on Fiverr.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. Pleasure to be here. And hello, everyone. I'm Josh. And for the last 2.5 years, I've been selling services on Fiverr. Mostly they are videos in the spokesperson category. So like I am now, I sell videos of myself reading scripts in sort of like the promotional sort of area, doing lots of like YouTube videos and things like that. And also a little bit of voiceover too. I've been documenting my whole sort of Fiverr career from the very beginning here on YouTube. So if you're interested in watching someone start Fiverr from day one, then I've documented as much as I possibly can throughout that whole process, starting from zero, no gigs, no orders, nothing at all whatsoever, all the way to becoming a top-rated seller 2 years later. So yeah, here we are.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, man. So for those of you who, I guess we've never had Josh on the channel, but I ran into Josh actually through YouTube. I hadn't really interacted with him on Fiverr, and he makes some amazing videos, like he mentioned, about his journey as a freelancer. But I guess we could kick things off with a question I had is you recently became a top-rated seller. I'm still not a top-rated seller. I'm a pro-rated seller, but not a top-rated seller. What is that like? What has changed? And what were you doing at that point before you finally kind of got pushed over the threshold? I've always been interested, and I'm sure some of these people will be too.
Yeah, of course. So, firstly, I became level 1 and level 2 quite quickly. I was very fortunate. So, I actually reached level 1 just only in my second month. So, obviously, if you know Fiverr, there's a few requirements. You have to reach a certain amount of orders, a certain amount of revenue, and you have to be on the platform for a certain amount of time, and obviously keep all of your quality metrics nice and high, above 90%. So obviously things like delivering on time and whatnot. And yeah, so I got to level 1 pretty quickly, and level 2 rolled around just as quickly as well. By I think it was the 4th month I hit level 2.
Nice.
Now level 2 seems to be the area where most people get to on Fiverr and stay for a very long amount of time. As Mike's demonstrating here. Now, there's nothing wrong with level 2, actually. I think there's quite a high percentage of people who are there who are making a lot of money and are doing very well and have no problem getting orders at all. And that was definitely my experience whilst I was level 2. I was able to grow. I felt like I was getting enough traction, getting enough eyes on my gigs, and it was a fine place to be. So I didn't stress too much about being top rated at this point. However, about 9 months or so into being into being level 2, I reached all of those metrics. So you have to earn 20,000 US dollars to be eligible, and you have to be on the platform for a certain amount of time. I think you have to do 200 orders. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it's something like that. So I reached those quality metrics and was eligible for top rated seller about 9 months into being level 2. And at first I thought, oh, I'm going to become top rated seller this month. Great. I'm really excited about it. And then the 15th rolled around and I still had a level 2 badge. And then the same thing happened the next month and the next month. Then obviously I realized that Fiverr handpicks these top rated sellers, and there's not really a whole lot that you can do to become top rated when you're level 2. Like there's no sort of like trick or hack or anything like that. You really just have to do your best to shine and be seen by the editors and get handpicked. So what I did, I had a look at my Fiverr account, I had a look at my stats, had a look at my gigs and things like that. And I was being really honest to myself. I thought, right, is there anything at all that I can do to improve? My delivery on time stat was quite low. It was something like 92%. I've cancelled orders before. I was around sort of 90% for order cancellations. My inbox response time was really slow. I think it was about 14 hours at one point. And basically, none of those stats were top rated seller material. So I kind of made it my goal and my mission to really improve on each and every one of those stats. So I set up Fiverr, the app on my phone, and I made sure that any new notification that came in for messages was responded to as quickly as possible, so I could get that stat up as quickly as I can. I made sure that I cancelled 0 orders so I can get that cancellation up to 100%. Now, that is something we can talk about more. There are ways to make sure you never get cancellations. And then obviously, I ensured that I never delivered a single order late. So that obviously means completing work on time, but also making use of the resolution center to extend projects and keeping clients, up to date. Now, with that too, Fiverr also really tries to hit home hard with the whole providing a really high quality service at a sort of cheap rate, or I should say really good value, more like. So I made sure that I was providing the highest quality video production that I could for the most reasonable price. And I think a lot of customers sort of responded to that because they could see that the quality was improving, increasing the quality of my service. And also the price was also pretty good compared to a lot of people in the industry. And with that helped to get more and more sort of sales, more and more 5-star reviews. And they're the main points that I think really helped me lead up to getting chosen to become a top rated seller.
Cool. So no magic. Sounds like just, fundamentals there. That's awesome. I know that's something that a lot of people strive towards. That was something that was like I was gunning for the first 2-3 years of my Fiverr experience as well. But I think the message you mentioned early on is that a lot of people are stuck in level 2. And if you are, you can still crush it. Like, you can still make a lot of money. And from what I've heard from a lot of people, the jump from level 2 to top rated might not necessarily mean you're suddenly making millions of dollars, right? It's, if you're already running a successful Fiverr business, the boost might be nominal. But if you're stressing out at level 2 about becoming top rated, you might actually do some things that are self-destructive. Like if you start messing with things and hurting your SEO and things like that. But Josh, I appreciate you going through that. We'll get into some of these comments in just a second, but you mentioned one thing that I think everyone here wants to hear about is how to avoid cancellations. So I have an interesting experience recently with, let's call it a less, the type of buyer you don't like to work with, where you do everything right and they're gunning for a refund right off the get-go. But I'll talk about that later. What were you implying when you mentioned how to avoid cancellations?
Of course. Okay. So the first thing is that you need to be honest with yourself and realize when cancellations are actually your fault, even when you think that they're not. So here's what I'm talking about. Someone could make an order and they're just not happy with what you've done, or they're just not happy with it at all whatsoever. Is there anything that you may have promised in your gig description, in your gig video, or in the FAQs that could have suggested that you offer, something of a better quality or a particular part of the service that you didn't give them? I know that a lot of people want to talk themselves up when it comes to writing Fiverr gig descriptions and gig videos. Of course, that's just marketing. But sometimes a lot of people oversell themselves a bit too much. And then when it comes to actually taking the order, it's not quite, it doesn't quite fulfill the same experience that you've kind of promoted. So the first thing is to make sure that your Fiverr gig description and your Fiverr videos are as transparent and are as honest. They kind of demonstrate exactly what the customer is going to receive. So for example, I'm in the video niche, in the video category. I like to make my Fiverr gig videos demonstrate what kind of video quality that customer can expect. And I'll also explicitly say in the description as well that this is what you are going to receive, and this is what you are not going to receive as well if they think it can be anything else. The next thing is making sure that you've got strict disclaimers. So again, using my Fiverr video category as an example, I don't really like to make videos promoting cryptocurrency projects for obvious reasons. There's lots of scams in the market. Not all of them are, but it could cause problems. So
Yeah.
I've got a disclaimer that says I will not read scripts about crypto, or I'll not read scripts about dating and things like that. So if a customer misses that and they make the order and they want me to record something about crypto or dating or anything that I've said in my disclaimer I will not do, obviously you're going to have to cancel it. Now, you can just go onto the order, go onto the resolution center and click request to cancel, and then the order will be canceled, but that will ruin your cancellation statistic. So what I have been doing, I've been contacting Fiverr support. Contact them and say, here's the order number, and let them know the case and just say, someone's ordered this gig. It's not as I expected them to order it, or they've broken my disclaimer here, and therefore I need to cancel it. But I'd like to cancel it without affecting my gig statistic. And honestly, every time I've ever done that, Fiverr has cancelled it, and I have not ruined that statistic either. Now, obviously, be reasonable with this. If someone cancels an order because you've not done something that you should have done, Fiverr will side with the buyer, okay? Obviously, because they would like to protect their buyers as much as possible, because without them, we won't have Fiverr and we won't have revenue. But at the same time, they do care about us sellers, contrary to popular belief. They really do care. They really do want to look after us, and it is in their best interest to keep us sellers on the platform and happy on the platform. So anytime I've reasonably come to them and say, someone's made an order, they're not happy with it for whatever reason, or I'm not happy to do the work, please cancel it, they cancel it. And so that is the tactic that I use to make sure that I avoided any cancellations, which obviously helped to get top rated seller in the end as well.
Awesome. Yeah, cancellations are an interesting thing for me. There are those situations where someone orders an error. I haven't gone the contact Fiverr support route, and I probably should have. I've just done the mutual cancellation, like this was ordered in error type thing. But in situations actually where, like as a copywriter, I run into a lot of people who are starting businesses for the first time, and they seem to not understand their business as well as they probably should. And they're hiring people out to do stuff, right? I fancy myself a pretty capable copywriter. And I've come into a couple scenarios, and one like a couple weeks ago where, thoroughly qualified, asked tons of questions, and that's something I always do before someone places an order. I want to fully understand it. And from the very beginning, they seem to imply that if this isn't exactly what I was imagining, I'm going to cancel it. And I was like, well, that's just not how this works, right? And tried to get on the same page. So sure enough, did the order, did a free revision, did a second free revision, which I specified that is not included. And they tried to cancel it. So in those situations, it's interesting. I have this dilemma where it's like, do you take the rating hit, or do you potentially lose a lot of money and get a cancellation? So just in my scenario, I ended up doing everything I could to make right by the order, and we pushed it through, got my first 2-star rating. But that's what it is. I like your approach. I guess in that scenario, I could have reached out to support to see if they could have made an equitable resolution for us. But it's always kind of interesting with cancellations. Like, to what Josh said, if you can specify as much as possible in your FAQ, in your description, to eliminate ambiguity. For example, if you only provide one revision, or for example, if you offer some sort of service that's intended to help people sell something, specify that you do not guarantee results. That type of stuff will help protect you and also make it more of an equal playing field where both you and the buyer are on the same page in these types of scenarios. But anyways, Josh, thanks for going into that. Cancellations have been a topic. I'm always battling with that when a sticky situation comes up. I never know what the optimal path is because, like you say, you don't want to muck up your Fiverr statistics, right?
Yeah, of course. Super quickly adding on to that as well, actually. So in your experience, when you continued with the order and then took the negative review, sometimes you just have to take that on the chin and just accept that you can't please everybody that you work with. You will get a negative review at some point down the line. But if you've got a negative review and you've got a strong case that you think, I have done everything in my power and I have given exactly what has been advertised and I have done nothing wrong, and maybe this buyer just didn't know what they wanted, or they're just awkward, again, you can contact Fiverr support and let them know, make your case, and they could remove the review, because it's in their best interest to make your gig shine and look as, sellable as possible. So if there is a negative review on there which is a bit unfair, Fiverr might remove it because it will help you get more sales, and that's in their best interest too.
Interesting.
The worst thing that could happen is they could say no. So
yeah, interesting. I'm gonna try that out. Thanks for the tip, Josh.
Why not?
Awesome. So before we kind of get into more chit chat, let's go to the comments here. Just say what's up to some people. So we got Yoav. I believe I saw you in the Discord server. Says hi, hello, thanks for joining. We got Shiraz saying hey to Josh. Just leaving me out to dry here. It's okay. It's cool.
You can call me Josh. You can call me Faulks. Whatever you like.
Pourvu says if we can record the live. So all of these lives that I do on this channel are recorded. After they go live, they'll appear in a playlist called Fiverr live streams on the YouTube channel. Good question. Abed says, hey, Mike, what's up? Nice to see you again. We're just going to fire through a bunch of these, Josh, until we get some actual questions. Random Shiz says, does making more gigs as a new seller have a negative impact on your profile? Short answer, I'm going to say no. Josh, what do you think about this?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It really depends. That is a really great question. Firstly, as a new seller, having a few different gigs obviously means that you've got more opportunities to get found in different categories. Now, early days, you've got this opportunity where you've not built a strong brand, or you've not got a whole lot of different clients that are expecting you to do certain things. So really, at early days, it's a chance to experiment, to find, what kind of services work best or what you enjoy selling. The other thing to keep in mind is that certain types of services can be sold in multiple categories. So again, let's use my example of selling spokesperson videos. Obviously, the first one is spokesperson category. That's where most of my gigs go. But also, I can create the same style of video and post a gig in the e-learning category and get customers that are searching for e-learning course producers. And I can create videos for them too. There's another category called screencasting, which is where you create videos recording screens of apps and software and things like that. And again, that's a service that I can provide, but it's in a different category on Fiverr. So having multiple gigs does allow you to get found, in more different places. So it's a great thing to do. But the problem that you could run into is if you start offering lots of different random services that, don't really link up, and you start making yourself look a bit of a jack of all trades. So you don't really want to go in and be like, I will create your logo, and then I will do data processing, and then I will be your top-notch video producer, and then all the way over to I will draw a picture of your cat. Do you know what I mean? Like, whilst, the great thing about Fiverr is you can do that. If that's what you really want to do, then go ahead. You can do as much or as little different varied jobs as you want. More power to you. But in the business world, a lot of people like to see and work with specialists. So using my Faulks Digital business as an example, we're really trying to specialize in video marketing, video content, and things like that. So all of our gigs are kind of geared that way. So yeah, having multiple gigs doesn't give you a negative impact, but just make sure that your gigs kind of all make sense with each other and you're providing sort of a solid service as a whole.
That's a really good answer. I like the answer of not just being a jack of all trades. So what I recommend, I mentioned this in a bunch of my new Fiverr seller tutorial videos, is focus on one thing. When I started on Fiverr, I just did email writing, and I only had that one gig until that gig had kind of hit critical mass and was getting me consistent orders. The reason I kind of recommend that is because being a freelancer and a Fiverr seller is kind of a new skill set for a lot of people. Being able to juggle Fiverr, manage, selling and buyer expectations strictly through text, like Fiverr chat, it's a new and challenging thing. So I agree with Josh. Try to be specialized, but also if you're just brand new, just focus on getting really good at one thing, mastering the art of communicating with buyers. Because, another potentially detrimental situation is if you start offering, 10 different gigs and 10 different disciplines all at once, and you start to get a lot of interest, but you start to encounter scenarios that are challenging to you and results in you delivering a poor experience or rushing through work, and you're not really experienced enough to manage that workload or those requests, that could burn you from growing in the future too. So, I'm all about Fiverr being a marathon, not a sprint, and doing the right things to set yourself up for long-term success. So good question. And Josh, really love the insight there. All right, great, Scott. All right, Scott, thanks for joining, man. Scott's actually another VO or voice actor, sorry. He mentioned that utilizing the mobile app is a must. I totally agree. It's something that I probably check too often throughout the day. Yeah, but I'm always checking it. It's a great way to keep your response times up too. Josh mentioned when he started before becoming a top rated, he had like a 13-hour response time. You just install your mobile app on your phone and you have it with you everywhere you go. I would assume, unless you're some super busy like surgeon or something, you could probably answer within an hour on most days. Like, let's get real here. None of us are, I hope none of us are really that busy that you can't pry yourself away for a minute. Abed says, what are the top 5 myths of Fiverr business from your experience and journey on Fiverr about gig ranking, SEO, etc.? So I don't know if I'll give 5 myths, but I'll give one that I try to tackle a lot. It's not really a myth, but the mindset a lot of people have that Fiverr is just too saturated to start and too saturated to succeed. So I think that could be considered a myth, because every time I hear that, a piece of my soul just breaks off and floats out to the ether. The reality is, in this world, any business opportunity, anything that you can do that is, empowered by a large scale platform like Fiverr and available to the masses, there will be competition. Being able to compete against the competition is what differentiates the people who everyone idolizes, who are making millions of dollars per year or thousands of dollars per month, whatever you consider successful, and the people who aren't, right? So when I hear, Fiverr's too saturated, what I'm actually hearing and how I translate that is, I'm not willing to find ways that I can compete or offer more value than the competition. And I'm not trying to point fingers here, but I think that's a myth, right? It's not too saturated. There's not too much competition. Instead, we need to flip that thinking and say, okay, what can I do that offers a unique value based on the skills that I have that can allow me to succeed in this marketplace? Because if we're going to back down every time we enter a situation where there's competition, we're just going to end up sitting at home doing nothing, because everything is a competition. What do you think, Josh?
I fully agree with what you just said there. One of the things as well that I think is another kind of like myth or a mindset really that can hold a lot of people back is that they're not ready to sell on Fiverr yet. So what I mean by that is someone wants to get into voiceover or videos as well, and they're like, oh, I don't quite have the right equipment. I don't have the right camera yet. I don't have the right skills. I've not learnt, I've not had this expensive course, the beauty of Fiverr is that you can grow and adapt over time. So using myself again as an example, when I first started, I just had a camera and a microphone and one light, and the quality wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. And I had very little presenting skills. I'd never done it before in my life, really. So don't think that you need to have a lot of experience or a lot of equipment to get started. If anything, by getting started, creating a few gigs, and start taking a few orders is the way that you're going to learn, and going to earn while you learn, so you can continue to put that money back in to grow the business so you can go further.
Totally. And just one caveat to that. So I totally agree with what Josh is saying, but I also, on the topic of, feeling ready, you do still need to be ready enough to offer value.
Okay. I agree with that.
If you're not there, it doesn't matter if you have the best equipment or the worst equipment. You need to be good enough for the buyers you're targeting. And there's different levels of value, right? That's the one thing. I hear a lot, and this is, I guess we could call this the third myth or challenge I hear people facing is, people starting when they don't possess the skills yet or haven't taken the time to learn the skill. So I'll give you an example. I'm a copywriter. I write stuff in the English language. People hiring me are selling to people who speak English. I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't speak English, or if I wasn't at a point where I could write copy that would accomplish their goal based on my, lack of understanding or grasp of the language, written language. Certain things you need to have a baseline level of proficiency to ethically be able to sell that service with the expectation of making money, right? If you're not good, or if you're not better than the worst competitor, you're not going to succeed, and you're going to deliver subpar work, and people are going to hate you and give you a negative rating. So to Josh's point, you don't need, this whole not ready for a lot of things. I think even Great Scott, the guy in the comments from a moment ago, told me he started with an iPhone and like a mic plugged into that for voiceover. You can make it happen, but if you don't have the skills or the value to offer, it's not going to happen, if you have a $10,000 studio, So good question. I think I can't really think of any other myths. Can you, Josh?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Sit
But that was a great question. These are things that I know that like people like Josh and I, anyone who's talking about Fiverr on YouTube, we kind of tackle these in a lot of videos, right? Because these myths are often obstacles people put in front of themselves that stop them from being successful. And one of my goals is to help you guys and girls understand that maybe things aren't necessarily how you perceive them to be, right? Like we don't know what we don't know. So, I hope these answers were helpful, but if you have more questions like that, check out Josh's YouTube channel. And I have a couple hundred videos on mine as well. A lot of free tips out there to help you kind of overcome some of these barriers. Oh yeah. And then Scott just answering our question from before about being level 2 versus top rated. 1 to 1.5K almost as a level 2 seller. Like that's my point. Like I'm a level 2 seller. I'm a prorated seller now, but I was doing 2 to 3 grand as a level 2 seller, and I still am, right? So you can make money. It just, find your niche, find your value, target that. And it's not really going to matter what level you are. If you're delivering a great experience, buyers will find you.
That's really great income as well.
Yeah.
That's not money to laugh at. In the UK, that's, that's a part-time wage for someone, that's
rent, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That would pay rent. Yeah.
Yeah. That's been the biggest thing for me for Fiverr, and for anyone thinking about it. You can still work a job while working Fiverr. And if you build your Fiverr business in such a way where it's not all income, like it doesn't take up all of your time, it can really change the game for you. I've heard from so many people from all over the world where in a couple months you're making, I'm not going to say you're going to make I'm not trying to do these false claims, $1 million, but like, it's very reasonable to get to like $500 a month within a few months by focusing on what you're good at, right? Or learning something that you can be good at, right? So guys, yeah, great, Scott. Thanks for sharing, but it's totally possible. All right, we got Paul. What can someone do to make themselves stand out from the competition on Fiverr? That is a great question. I'll leave this one to the video presenter and voice actor, Josh, to answer. What do you think, Josh?
Let me start by saying Paul actually is a good friend of mine. So thanks for being here, Paul. And funnily enough, Paul Byatt here is actually someone that I took a lot of inspiration from, because Paul here is actually a cameraman, videographer, photographer, extraordinaire at all of these things, extremely talented. And he used to record videos of me when I used to run recording studios back in the day. So, Paul, thanks for being here. Well, what we can do to make ourselves stand out from the competition on Fiverr, use video, mate. Honestly, Fiverr gig videos, I don't understand why I ever see a gig that doesn't have a video. It just confuses me, because it is such an opportunity for you to demonstrate your personality, show exactly what you can offer them. Don't just tell them in the description or tell them with a picture. Actually show them using the video. A lot of the time, people, when they're buying on Fiverr, they want to feel like that they're talking directly to you. So having a video of yourself representing yourself and your brand and actually talking through your service is by far the best way to really stand out. That's just my personal opinion here. Mike, what do you think?
The reason I asked you was because I agree. And I know as the guy who makes awesome professional videos, you could say it best. But yeah, create videos on your gigs. That's number one. Like, people rush into getting a gig out there thinking that the quicker I get a gig, the quicker I'm going to get orders. And they skip a lot of these really basic things that Fiverr makes available to us that can help. Gig video, in my opinion, is a very strong one. I didn't have gig videos for like the first year and a half of my Fiverr journey. And then, I threw some up there, and even the quality of buyer I was getting almost immediately changed, because it's like a minute that you have to further sell your services, to further explain what you do, to, increase your buyer's understanding of how you can help them. So it just makes the conversation even a whole lot easier once they do message you. So yeah, gig videos, number one. I think that's a great way to stand out on Fiverr.
I've got another super quick one on that question as well.
Yeah.
Fiverr seems to promote more gigs that make use of all of the Fiverr features. So, for example, if you're selling in a category that lets you have free packages, you better be using free packages. If you can turn on the Fiverr subscription service, just turn it on. Everything like that. Maximize the use of all of the features on the gig or on Fiverr, and they're more likely to promote your gig.
That makes a lot of sense too, and it makes like logical sense, because Fiverr's releasing these features for a reason. They think it's going to help drive revenue, and the way they drive revenue is by getting people to buy certain gigs. So that's a great point as well. Turn on as many features as you can if they make sense for your service, of course. But yeah, good point. All right, we got Robin. Josh, what methods did you use to get discovered in the beginning? Did you vastly underprice to get social proof and then increase by bit by bit? That's a good question.
It's a very good question. So this is another one of those answers that could go either way. So since you're asking about my experience, yes, I did kind of vastly underprice. I started at about $10 for the basic. So that was pretty cheap compared to a lot of people in the category. But again, on Fiverr, it varies a lot as well. There's some people doing stuff at $5, some people starting at $500. But for me, yes, I thought if I start at $10 and, sort of gauge the interest, I can then find out, how the quality of my work is being perceived by the customers. And then I can let the customers kind of set my rate in future, if that makes sense, by the feedback I'm getting from them. So yeah, I started cheap and then just raised it as I kept going, as I was getting more and more orders and more demand. And that I'm still doing that to this day. Currently, we're getting so many orders that I'm having to put the price up just to manage the demand. So that's something that will never stop. And this is a piece of advice that I do recommend to many people. So my brother-in-law actually is just joined Fiverr recently, doing spokesperson videos too. And we've started him off at $10, and he's done a decent amount of work now. He's done about 22 orders in the last couple of months, which is amazing. And now we're like, okay, you're getting some traction. Let's put the price up a bit. But at the same time, sometimes buyers, when they're searching for a service, they don't want the cheapest. And so they completely filter out anything that's $10 because they go, well, that's going to be a bad service, or it's going to be a cheap amateur service. I don't want that. I'm only going to buy a gig that starts at $50. So it's a little bit of a tough one on the pricing front. And maybe it just needs a little bit of experimenting. And again, the beauty of Fiverr is you can set up multiple gigs, and you can also change the gigs as you go. And it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question and a good answer. I know you were asking Josh, but I'll just reinforce that. I took the same approach when I started. I was a $5 per gig seller. And I know a lot of people have this mindset of my time's worth more than $5, but you got to look at it as a marketing expense. Like, you're starting a business. So, I started Fiverr on vacation. I was in Hong Kong, and I was kind of like, this is an expensive trip. I need to make some money. So I started selling $5 emails. It took me like 20, 30 minutes at the time to write a solid email for $5. I can tell you, in my part of the world, that's not a working wage. Like, that is not a living wage, right? But it was my side hobby, my side hustle, and I was trying to grow it. So I started at $5. And to Josh's example with his brother-in-law, as I got 10, 20, 30 ratings, I started to incrementally increase it. And now 3 years later, I'm at the point where I'm probably, I was charging $5 for an email then. I'm charging $100 for an email now. I'm at the point now where I'm trying to throttle my workload by the price to control how many orders I have in the queue. Because it's kind of like a fine line for me right now where I'm trying to balance how much I earn per hour working on Fiverr, but also how much free time I have. So I'm trying to like constantly play with it. So I started at the bottom and just ramped it up as I went. I think that's a good strategy, but again, it's up to you. A lot of people say, price your services based on what you want to make per hour, and that's fine too. I'm of the belief that that's going to maybe influence the amount of time it might take for you to get started. But good question. And thanks for your insight, Josh. James from the Discord server says, hello. What's up, James? Yoav says, I published my gig 3 months ago and I made $360. That's really good. Yeah. Is that a good amount for a 3-month-old seller? Yes. So I did a little experiment about like 8 months ago where me as a level 2 seller, I created a brand new gig to see how long it would take me to get my first order on that new gig. It took me 62 days. So that's me with hundreds of orders. So for you to get $360 in revenue in your first 3 months, I would say that's fantastic and that you should stick with it.
Definitely. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. Salem says, nice to see you again. What's up? And he's got a question. I need your suggestion. My gig is on the first page, but I'm afraid to make any changes and maybe lose top rank. So what do you suggest? So I would beg the question, if your gig is on first page, why are you changing it? That's my first question. If it's because you think maybe your pricing is off or it's not converting as well, like you're getting a lot of impressions and not many clicks, you kind of got to make a call there, right? Like if you're on the first page and you are getting orders, but it's just, maybe at a slow rate. Me personally, I would be reluctant to change it because getting to the first page is very hard, and that's kind of going to be your best tool to get orders. What do you think, Josh?
I'm on the fence. So I think it's about your mindset towards it. I mean, if there's a particular reason why you need to make a change on your gig, maybe you need to clarify something in the description or you've adjusted your service better, you should make those changes. It doesn't matter where you are, first page or last page. If you've got something important that you need to change on your gig, be it the pricing, be it the description, or whatever service you're offering, that's important information that affects, your customer and affects the way you work. So change it. There's nothing wrong with that. The other thing as well is that Fiverr is an algorithm-based system. So what might be page one for you might not be page one for me. So this whole fight for being on the first page, there's not a whole lot that's within your power, really. So I wouldn't stress too much about it, because you could be on page one today, not be on page one tomorrow, and then it comes back. It's always fluctuating. And I'm talking from experience. I find my gigs all over the place all the time. But yeah, if it's important change, just make the change.
I think that is some great insight. Hope that was helpful. Idapo. Sorry, I'm trying my best, but he says, hello, sirs. Hello. Thank you so much for stopping by the stream. Yub says, I'm curious, how do I get my gig impressions actively rising? So this is something we could probably talk about endlessly, because like Josh mentioned, Fiverr search has a lot to do. It's an algorithm-based system, has a lot to do with your buyer, the people searching's interest in search history. But to get the short answer would be to start thinking about SEO. Start thinking about who your service is for. And if you put yourself in their shoes, what might they be searching for when they're searching for a service in Fiverr? I have a video about that, talks about SEO, how to tweak your gigs, but that's generally what you want to do. You can search through other gigs to see what they target in similar categories, but that's what you got to do. Impressions are literally just how often your gig appears on the search screen on someone's computer. So it's a key metric because without impressions, nobody's going to find your gig and click through your gig and purchase your gig. But you got to think about what these people are searching for and use that in your gig title. Lace your gig description with it naturally. Don't keyword stuff. That'll hurt you. But that's what you got to think about. Josh, any insights on this one?
I mean, again, it's the same really. Again, with impressions, I believe that there's not a whole lot you can do to control it. I would say experiment with the categories. Really, what can you do with your service to offer it in different places, in different categories? So Mike's a writer. There's loads of different writing categories, copywriting, the email marketing writing, script writing, for example. What can you do to offer the services in different places? That could help find more impressions in categories that have less competition, for example.
Good feedback. Eubs, I hope this helps, but trial and error, try some things out, see what works for you. Temi Dio says, hello, Josh. Thanks for your tips on cancellation. I'm going to second that. Thank you, Josh, for those awesome tips. I hope
they go well.
Oh, Hamza, this is a question. Please tell me high-paying gig on graphic design niche. So this is a trick question because the answer is a high-paying gig is going to depend on your ability to deliver a service that demands a high price based on the level of value it provides. I know that's not a direct answer, and I know a lot of people online just want the answer, but the reality is that's part of your journey. You got to figure out what the highest paying gig you can offer is based on your skills, what you're good at, what the market demands, what categories you want to sell in. Do some research is the short answer, right? Figure out what you're good at, see what other people are selling that service for, be realistic with how well you think you could stack up against those other people, and start from there, right? There are people who sell logos for $500 or $5 as a graphic designer, but I'm pretty sure you could spend $10,000 on a logo. It depends on the value you can bring. Are you consulting with your clients to give them some insights into, best practices or techniques? That one's on you. You could sell anything for a lot of money on Fiverr. It really depends on how you present the service and how well you sell it. Josh, feedback?
Yeah, I like to say, think in terms of end product. So as a comparison, rather than having a gig that says something like, I will be your company's graphic designer, which is very broad. Yeah. What can you create a gig for a very specific end product? So obviously the obvious one everyone does is I will create a minimal logo for you or a brand logo.
But 10,000 of those, right?
Exactly. But instead, what else is popular at the moment? So in my niche, we need video thumbnails all the time. I need to get thumbnails for YouTube videos, for all sorts of videos that I do. So create a gig specifically for that end product. I will design your YouTube video thumbnail, I will create a banner for your landing page website, just random examples here. I will design your menu for your restaurant, create gigs that are very specific to the end product, because at the same time, you've got a good SEO advantage because customers are probably going onto Fiverr and actually searching for that end product. I know I do. If I want a video thumbnail, I search video or YouTube thumbnail, and I buy the gig that is specific to the thumbnail. So yeah, think in terms of end product. What end product can you sell?
Good answer and good question. All right, we got Salam. One of my clients ordered a gig a month ago. I did a lot of extra work for him. Now, after 1 month, he is asking again for changes. When I refused, he says I'm contacting customer support. So this goes back to something Josh and I mentioned earlier in this video. Setting expectations, putting disclaimers in your gig description, clearly outlining what's included. In this scenario, Salam, I would ask, did you specify how many revisions you offered? This is something that I talk about a lot. A lot of people say unlimited revisions. Doing that opens the door to this situation, right? So I would say without knowing more, you got to kind of roll with the punches here and figure out what the best possible resolution might be for you. I would say probably try to make them happy and get them to complete the order. But in future, you could prevent these types of situations by being a little proactive and making sure, you're clearly specifying. Like me, for example, maximum I include is 1 revision per order. I even specify how long or how much is included in the revision. 1 line of text. That's it. You want more, you have to order the gig again. It's hard and fast, but it creates an understanding that would avoid me to get into this type of a situation. Josh, feedback, thoughts?
Yeah. So the first thing to pick up on is that it's after 1 month. So the order has been closed. So that client has finished the order knowing that any changes or anything like that could incur further fees, So if you've honestly provided the work as set out, as per your gig, and you've done it to the best of your abilities and it's a good standard, Fiverr's not going to cancel your order a month later. They want to protect you, okay? But if you maybe didn't quite give the quality of service that they expected, or you've missed anything out, then Fiverr could cancel your order because you weren't completely honest and faithful with your order. But the other thing also I've spotted is that you've also said that you did a lot of extra work for him. Now, that's fine. I'm always the type of person that will encourage people. If a client has a request and you can do the extra bit of work, then do it. Serve your customer. They're paying you money for a service that you're providing. Go above and beyond. Impress them. Get a 5-star review. But with this extra work, sometimes maybe you need to say, give them a little bit of a disclaimer as, hey, this is extra work. I'm usually paid for this. Now, on this occasion, I'm happy to do it because it's the first time we're working together. But in future, if any extra changes like this comes up, I will have to charge for it. So because you've done the extra work, I'm guessing you didn't charge for the extra work. That customer has an expectation of how much work they can get for what they have paid. So I'm not fully surprised that they've come back going, oh, hey, I need some changes again. The order's finished, but you did it last time. I paid the gig and you did all this work. So you're going to do it again for me. So that's the point where you need to kind of say, no, not quite. I'm not going to do it. You do have to pay for those changes. And again, if you're being honest about yourself and you're honest about the work, Fiverr's not going to cancel the gig. They're going to protect you.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah. So I think the net is, you seem to be in a little bit of a sticky situation. Might have to deal with this one, but for the next go around, just do as Josh said. Make sure you're protecting yourself and not setting a precedent that could lead to an endless cycle of revision requests. All right, Yoav, do you have suggestions on how to stand out as a translator on Fiverr? So I'll just quickly answer this. We talked about this earlier. Gig video. Put out a video explaining how awesome of a translator you are, and maybe do some translating in that video. Just prove that you can do it, right? So,
and the other tip as well that I gave about thinking in terms of end product. So instead of just saying, I will be a translator, what can you translate? I will translate your YouTube gig video, for example. I will translate your legal document. Think in terms of what end product you can create a gig for.
And that'll help you niche down. Josh mentioned that earlier. So that'll help you appear in more refined searches. That'll increase your chances of standing out. Good answer. All right. Mario says, hey guys, have you ever delivered an order you're not proud of? I recently had something like this happen to me and I want to know if it's normal. I mean, I would say that I can honestly say that every order I've delivered, I think has accomplished what I set out to do. Like it met the requirements of the order because that's something I care very much about. Have there been orders that are not my best work? Definitely. I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years. I would imagine one of my first 50 orders, probably a lot more amateur than my last 50 orders, but that's just the nature of being a freelancer.
100%. Yeah, same here. I mean, I take pride in my work and every order I want to over deliver and I want to give my best. But let's also remember something here. We're working on Fiverr and there's a lot of different varied customers that come through the orders. And sometimes their requests kind of make you create substandard work because you're having to, follow their brief. It's what they want, So you've got to create something that you might not be happy with. But at the end of the day, as long as the client's happy, then great, let's cash in.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I completed 1,000+ projects and average selling price 23%. I don't know what that means. My complete profile derank without any reason, also unqualified for promoted gig. I don't understand this one. I guess like the 1,000 projects and average selling price, to me, I don't know what that's getting at. But as for deranking without any reason, I would say to Josh's last point, like, what does deranking mean? The algorithm is based on individual user preferences. So based on, if we make the assumption that that is true, how do you know you've been deranked, right? Like, you can't physically go on everyone's computer. Could just be seasonality. Maybe someone rated you negatively behind the scenes. So Fiverr does send surveys out to buyers after you've completed an order to give honest feedback outside of the 5-star rating system. If someone didn't like your work and left some feedback there, that might have had an influence. I really don't know. Josh, what do you think?
I mean, it's too individual a case. We'd have to see your profile and, and see what's going on. I noticed you say profile derank. So if you're talking about your seller status, Fiverr will never just derank someone for no reason. There will always be a very good reason why you've been deranked, and you can always try and get it back as well. And being unqualified for the promoted gig feature, well, check the Fiverr FAQs, have a read through. You'll probably find out the reason why your gig is no longer eligible. But yeah, all the best. Good luck to you.
Yeah. Sorry, it's so situational. I don't know we could give a better answer. Healthy and wealthy. Love the name. Mubin here. I level 2 seller video editing. I'm making $500 to $600 a month. Nice. What can someone do to break the $1,000 a month barrier? Well, doing more orders is probably
raise your prices.
Easiest. Yeah, raise your prices. Kind of commonsensical answers. Get more orders or charge more for your orders are the two things you can do. But more practically, if you feel like your prices are at a point they should stay and you're getting the orders you're getting, I've talked about this in a couple videos in the past. Be proactive. Maybe try to reach out to companies yourself off the Fiverr platform. Send them a cold email, link them to your Fiverr profile. Say, hey, listen, I figure you might need video editing services based on you being in this industry. I do that through Fiverr. You want to check it out. This is something you can do. I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of people, but I've been in sales for 10 years and email is still one of the number one ways things are sold business to business. So you could try that. Like Josh said, you could raise your prices. Buyer requests you could try. I'm not a huge fan of those, but yeah.
So video editing is really high in demand, like really high in demand. So much so that even I struggle to find good video editors, and I'm hiring video editors all the time. Again, think in terms of end product. If you've got a gig saying, I will edit your video, I will be your video editor, it's not enough. I will edit your YouTube video. I will edit your wedding video. I will create and explain a video for your website. Think like that. And also with video editing, you've got a skill here to create something new. Video editing is when someone sends you lots of footage and lots of things, and then you just compile it together and you edit it. But with those skills, you have the ability to create new content as well. So think about how you can create videos from scratch for companies and businesses instead of just editing videos that have already been made. So maybe look into, maybe some animation, or like me, film yourself, presenting some videos, or, create explainer videos using stock footage and things like that. Honestly, with video editing, that the industry is only growing and we need more video editors in the space. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Also, make sure that your pricing is spot on. Make sure that you're, in line with everyone else in the categories, and you won't be short of orders. I promise you that.
Yeah. Good tips from a pro. Oh, this is an interesting one. So, Mr. Mustafa's SEO, is old Fiverr account affect gig ranking? Well, Mr. SEO, I should be asking you this question. Um, I don't know. It's going to depend. If that old Fiverr account had negative ratings or you let it just sit and didn't respond to inquiries, probably going to have a hard time waking up the beast there. But if you're asking if you can create a new gig and rank, I would say if your YouTube name is indicative of what you do on Fiverr, write a new gig description with SEO in mind and see what happens. I think you could bring it back. Josh?
I agree. I'm not qualified on this one. I don't know. I just created a Fiverr account from the beginning and went from there. I imagine that the benefit of an old Fiverr account is that you've got your time on the platform stats, which helps you get your level 1, level 2. But as long as you've not got negative ratings or bad reviews or anything like that, I don't see why it would be a problem at all, really. But again, at the same time, you could all just start a fresh account if it's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Abed, what do you do when your gig is down or does not have enough orders? Honestly, I just wait it out. Fiverr fluctuates so much. Like last month was one of my best months of all time. This month I'm selling, less volume of orders, but the price of each order is like 3x my normal sale price. It's hard to say. Like, it's a marathon. You're going to have slow weeks, slow months, slow quarters, especially in the world we're living in now with like a global pandemic happening. People's buying habits are kind of all over the place. Other than doing things like maybe revising a gig that needs revising, creating a new gig, or prospecting off the platform, I usually just wait it out.
Yeah, I have nothing to add on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry. Mike nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Before we get into the next question, I actually just wanted to point something out that Josh and I were just quickly chatting about beforehand. So if you follow Josh on YouTube, you'll notice he's got a pretty slick studio going on behind him. And Josh, I know that you've recently kind of created a whole offshoot of your video presentation business. How did that come? I think this is a cool story for freelancers of what could happen. Like, you're running a company now. What's going on with you? Where are you located? How did this happen? What are you working on?
Yeah, sure. So of course, if you followed me on YouTube, I've documented the whole Fiverr journey. I started with just one camera, one microphone, and one light in my spare bedroom at home, which is a tiny little space. Really, really tiny. You could probably just about fit a single bed in there. And I created my first video on Fiverr, took my first few orders, and documented the whole 2.5-year process, basically. Well, as I hit 2 years and became top rated seller, started taking a lot of orders and it was growing, decided that I needed to move the business out of my spare room at home into a actual commercial premises away from home. So I had been working from home for 2 years, and that can get a little bit, stressful. It's hard to, figure out where the workday starts and when the workday ends. When you're always at home working and then relaxing, it became a lot. So I really needed to make sure that I had somewhere that I could separate my work and home life. So I got this studio here, which is in the center of Colchester, which is in England. And very lucky to have this beautiful office space here to run my Fiverr business. So in the space of 2 years, I've gone from creating amateur-looking videos in my spare bedroom all the way up to having this space here, which allows me to produce lots of very different content to a much higher standard. And I can work with lots of different clients because I've got different filming options. I've got a big green screen behind me, which is behind all that stuff there. And yeah, it means I can come to work and then go home and leave the workday behind, which is great. With that, though, because the business has been growing so well, again, mostly taking orders from Fiverr, I've had to start growing a team as well. So I'm now working with my best friend, Will, who is my video editor at the moment, and he's creating some stunning work with us. He's dedicated to creating really great video content with me. And then another one of my best friends, James, has joined us as a script writer. So now we're offering a full service as a team. So rather it just being myself as a spokesperson on camera, we now offer the full package. We've got script writing, video presenting with me, and then my friend Will then creates the whole package and puts it together in a stunning, professionally video edited video. Yeah, probably a better way to say that. But there you go. And now, because we've grown so much on Fiverr, we're starting to get a lot of interest outside of Fiverr as well. People have been finding us on YouTube, finding our old website and sending us emails. And we're now starting to build up relationships with some pretty big companies directly. So we're building contracts like that. And so it's gotten to the point that we're now starting a new video brand called Speak Video, which will be dedicated to providing these explainer style, human driven explainer videos for businesses. And actually,
Awesome.
on a quick note, I've had the pleasure of having Mike Nardi here write all of the content for our website. So yeah, if you're looking for someone to do great writing for your website, you need to be hiring Mike. He's the guy.
Well, it's so nice of you to say that little plug at the end for me, but I'm just really impressed with your journey. So, you've been doing what, freelancing for 2 years?
Yeah,
2 years.
Two years and about 3 months.
2 years. And you've gone from in a little room at your house, one camera and a light, to I think your last video said you made like $7,000 in 1 month.
Yeah, I'll be honestly entirely transparent with you. Since May this year, I've done 5,000, then 6,000, then 7,000, and then every month since that July, I've done 7,000. And now we're in October. I'm probably going to hit $8,000 or $9,000 in 1 month.
That's amazing.
That's Fiverr alone. That's just Fiverr.
You are making since May what most people in the UK make in a year.
Yes.
More.
Yeah.
I know this for a fact. More. Like
average salary in the UK, I think, is something around like £18,000 or between 18 and 25. And we've hit that alone on Fiverr in just half of the year. Not even that. That's extremely amazing. Fortunate.
Yeah, 9,000 a month. You have a team of 3 now. You have a company. You're doing things like the reason I wanted to take a pause from the questions and just kind of highlight this with Josh is he's been doing this for 2 years. Prior to 2 years ago, I didn't know Josh, but I can say with certainty he was probably a nobody in the video production space compared to where he is now, right? He was the guy who might have thought, how am I going to compete against the competition, right? He was the person who's like, how am I going to grow this business? How am I going to charge that amount? But flash forward 2 years and he's doing those things, probably has far exceeded expectations for both himself and most people starting out in VO. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Josh on this stream. He hustled, he offers a great service, he's focused on the fundamentals, and now he's at a point where the guy's killing it. I mean, that's fantastic. And I think it's a testament to the fact that a platform like Fiverr can afford us these great opportunities, right? But it's up to us to take advantage of them. Like Josh hasn't been sitting idle. He's grown his Fiverr business. He's focused on becoming a top-rated seller. He's created a YouTube channel. He's now he's an incorporated business where he has a team working with him to help deliver even better quality of work. He's treating it like a business, scaling it as a business, and is being rewarded as such. So, Josh, I love that you shared the background and have been transparent about your earnings, but you are literally a great example of what the realm of the possible is on Fiverr. And I'm going to say in a relatively short period of time, because I'm not one to be like a get rich quick. You can make $7,000 a month in a week. It's taken you 2 years. And that's a short amount of time. Like, I don't know many people who start a £20,000 a year career and in 2 years are at £9,000 a month in that job. That doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen here in Canada. I'm going to assume it doesn't happen in the UK either, right? So
not really, no,
yeah.
not at all. I knew before I joined Fiverr that I wasn't going to be making this kind of money if I stayed in a job. It was impossible. No way.
You'd have to become a lawyer or doctor. Like you'd have to, it's hard.
Exactly.
Yeah. So guys, Josh's story. We're going to jump back into the questions, but I just wanted to make sure we got that out there because I did know about Speak Video because I did write the content for their website, but he's branched out, and I'm actually like low key a little jealous of his situation. I'm like, this guy started a full on business. That's awesome. That's something I would like to do myself. But look at Josh as a great example of how to make it happen.
Yeah, Fiverr's a great vehicle to get that started. It really
Yeah.
is. I mean, if you want to be that was the main thing. I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to run a business before I ever joined Fiverr, and Fiverr's just allowed me to get there, basically.
Yeah. It's an awesome platform, and if you leverage it to what it's meant to do, look at Josh. I mean, you know, I'm doing okay too, right? There's a lot of people who are doing pretty good on Fiverr. It's just there's so many opportunities, like so many. But yeah, thanks, Josh. We'll get back into some questions. I don't know how much longer you can go. We just passed an hour. Are you good for a few more minutes or?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, of course. I'm enjoying it.
Awesome. So we got Archana. She says, do you think Asian people making gig video will affect in any manner? Accent, judgment, in general, rejection because of the country? So I would like to hope that it wouldn't. But I think it depends on the situation, right? So if, for example, you're selling a gig where you'll be competing with Josh as a spokesperson with a British accent, but you don't have a British accent, I think that's an obvious yes. Like that will affect your ability to lock down clients. If you're asking if, you know, having an accent in general might affect people working with you, it depends, right? If your service is not related to you being a spokesperson necessarily or something where an accent would matter, I don't think so. And I think that as a global platform, people understand that buyers and sellers on Fiverr are from all over the world. I think you should, you know, if you have the confidence to do it, gig video should be able to help you regardless of your accent or region of the world.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, a lot of people actually have it in mind that the Asian market on Fiverr is actually quite favorable because it seems to be the case that a lot of people are offering extremely professional services at cheaper rates compared to their Western equivalent. So I don't think it should hold you back. The only thing that I can think of is that if your accent or your English isn't strong enough to clearly communicate what you're trying to communicate, then either practice or hire a spokesperson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good tips. Hope that helped, Arcana. Breadtube says, Mike, can you start as a copywriter, charge $5 and say in your ad you'll start cheap, do for 5 gigs, and change the vid once you set your price? So I would just say, just make the video talking about your service. The price is the price. You don't have to specify in the video that you're starting cheap if you don't want to. You can just, this is the service I provide, and they'll see the price. And at any time, you can change the video or the price. So I would personally just avoid, you know, being like, oh, I'm going to do this for 5 gigs. I foresee that maybe leading to a sticky situation down the road where they're like, come on, you know, do it for another 5. Just create your gig, advertise your service, focus on where you can offer value and set the price. And when you're ready, up the price and upgrade the video. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, don't mention price at all in the video. Take the video as an opportunity to demonstrate what you do and how it's valuable to the buyer. That should be enough.
Exactly. Sashin says, can you check my gig? So I get these a lot on this stream. So this stream is a Q&A stream with our lovely friend Josh from Faulks Digital over here. If you want your gigs reviewed on this channel, there's an email address associated with this YouTube channel on the About page. Send me an email and outline your Fiverr username. In a future video, I will review it. But I will put a disclaimer. I've probably received 500 plus requests since starting this YouTube channel. I'm one guy. It's going to take some time. I go through those emails in the order I receive them. So the sooner you send it to me, the sooner the chances of it becoming, featured on this channel. But bear in mind that I'm currently working on a backlog from like last June. So I'm doing my best. But yeah, you got to send me an email.
Would this be a good time to mention the Discord?
Oh, yes. So Josh has actually joined the new Discord server channel that we're running. There's a link in the description of this video, Josh. Thank you for bringing that up. But basically, I've created a Discord server with the goal of just giving everyone who wants to freelance and sell on Fiverr another opportunity to connect with people, work with each other, improve our skills, and tackle challenging situations together. So Josh is actually a member of the Discord, and I don't know, I guess this is a good place to ask Josh, would you be interested if I was thinking about making a unique user role for people who have volunteered themselves to creating YouTube videos and growing on Fiverr? I thought that'd be a cool place to kind of, help people identify others who are making content for YouTube. Would you be interested in that?
I'm all over it, mate. Yeah.
Sweet.
Sign me up. Sign me
awesome.
up. I think
cool.
it's a great place if, Mike's very busy, obviously, going through all of these requests to check gigs. I think the Discord community could be a chance for people to share their gigs and review each other's, have a look at other people's gigs, see what they're doing, give them some advice, share your gig, and see if other people can help you too,
Yeah. I'm so happy you brought that up, Josh. I forgot about it, but we're at like 140 people in the server right now. People have been chatting. Josh has been chatting. Josh actually reminded us of the stream this morning. There's a channel where you can promote your Fiverr gigs, where if you have a gig that other sellers might want to buy, this might be a good place to promote it. And then we've created niche specific groups for like copywriting, web design, video editing, where you can just have a chat with people who are doing what you're doing. So if you use Discord, you should seriously consider joining. I think it's going to be a really cool place. And the last couple of days, we've been getting so many people joining, which I think is fantastic. Thanks for the reminder, Josh.
See you there, guys.
Awesome. Oh, and one other thing that I'm thinking for Discord, I just got to figure out how to do it. So I'm eventually going to create voice channels where people can drop in and actually chat real time with each other. I'm still figuring out the logistics behind that. Wait and see. It's on the roadmap. Okay, cool. So Josh, I can go for about another 10 more minutes. So let me pick out another couple of questions. And for all of you, we'll try to get Josh on again in the future. It's been awesome. So if he has the availability, look out down the road for another one of these. All right. This is a funny one. Please, my gig impressions are going down. I don't know if it's looking for oil. I haven't gotten orders for long now. Please, what's the solution for this? So first thing, in a vacuum, without knowing for how long your impressions have been going down, I would say number one is gig impressions fluctuate on Fiverr. So if it's a couple days, couple weeks, even couple months, that's normal. One of my Fiverr Pro gigs has gone from 2,000 impressions a day to 500 impressions per day for about a week. That has happened to me probably 15 different times throughout the last 3 years. It happens. If they've gone down because you've had a negative experience, time heals all wounds, I hope. You might have to wait that out. If they've gone down just because the market has changed, you might want to consider tweaking your gig. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly that. Pretty much everything we've been going through for the past hour of, be honest with yourself. Are you the problem, or is Fiverr the problem? Like, be really honest with yourself. Yeah. Are you missing things on your gig that, you could add, like the 3 packages or subscriptions or anything that could be eligible? Is your gig too broad? Could you think about more specific end products that you could advertise on Fiverr instead of just, one particular thing? Sometimes a few extra gigs could help be found in other places. So just keep those in mind,
Yeah, good point. I like that. Is it you or is it Fiverr? A lot of people seem to always revert to it's Fiverr, but in my experience talking to thousands of you over the years, it's usually us or something we've done. So we got to be honest with ourselves. Yoav says, has it ever happened to you that you didn't get a new order in over a week as a level 2 seller? I can one up you. And as a pro seller, last week, I didn't get an order for 5 days. And then on the 6th day, I got 3 orders for like $650. So it happens for everyone. And I'm sure, Josh, it's probably happened with you too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely in the level 2 days for sure. Yeah, I could have gone a week without it. not always a whole lot you can really do. It depends on how popular the service is at the moment, But I'm a little bit of an unfair case because my category, spokesperson videos, is just growing in demand, something crazy. So sometimes it could also just be like the climate of the market. I'm lucky that my category is very popular at the moment. It's very hot. Maybe one day it might not be. Something else might get popular another day. But at the moment, it's hot. So I'm lucky that I'm never without an order, really. So it could just be that. Just think broadly. Is there other things that you could offer too?
Yeah, cash in while you can as well. Like if something's hot, like I made a video a few weeks ago about catering to the NFT craze as a designer, designing images for NFTs. Do I think that'll be here in a few years? I don't know, but it's here now. So, like strike while the iron's hot in certain things.
Yeah, in fact, that's a really good one on the trend front as well. So even NFTs are being popular for videos at the moment. I'm getting asked about making NFT related videos. So yeah, just see what's popular now and see if you can create something catering to that trend.
Yeah, hitch your carriage to the money train whenever you can.
I like that.
We got to. So Art is fearless says, I am about giving up on Fiverr. I've been active for a while, but I've not seen any orders. And then he says, not even one for a whole month. So my friend, I'll repeat myself here, but it takes time. I did an experiment as someone who has hundreds of orders in Fiverr where I created a new gig, and it took me over 60 days to get my first gig. So that's number one. Is a month tells me nothing. I don't know what you sell. I don't know how good you are at what you do. A month could be a short amount of time, could be a long time. The second thing I would say is I always recommend erring on the side of positive thoughts. Instead of dwelling on, it's been a month, I'm going to give up, be like, why has it been a month? What could I potentially improve on to speed up the amount of time? Am I lacking? Do I stack up against the competition? Look for ways to make yourself a formidable competitor on the platform. That's how I would spend this month that you're waiting, because it might very well happen that in 2 months, now you have too many orders and you're like, shoot, I should have set up these safeguards and figured out a process to help me handle with this volume. Josh?
Again, it's really hard without knowing what you sell and without seeing the gig, because sometimes we could see something on the gig and actually say, well, this doesn't actually stack up when you compare it to everything else in the category. Just improve your gig. So we can't give you direct advice tailored to your case. The main thing I'm going to say, though, is please don't give up, because if you give up, then you have failed, but if you don't give up, you've not failed yet. Fiverr's so flexible and things change all the time and things come into popularity and go out of popularity. Your golden days might be next month. It could be next year. But if you come off the platform and give up, then you're never going to get it. But if you stick around and you're working on creating new gigs, you're improving your quality of your work, studying, using Skillshare, Fiverr Learn, watching YouTube videos about how to improving yourself, then it will reflect with your Fiverr orders too. So just please keep at it. Don't give up.
Yes.
I have faith.
Yeah, I'm gonna one up that and just say, I know it sounds like, oh, everyone just keeps saying stick with it, but it applies to everything that you're doing. Like if you're venturing off into a new venture, like I'll give you an example. This YouTube channel, I've created probably 200 videos, probably spent 2,000 hours creating these videos. For the first year, growth was slow. This has been 2 years and I just passed 30,000 subscribers. And I would say more than half of that came in the last 6 months. If I had quit 12 months ago, I would have just quit, said, hey, it wasn't possible for me to get higher than 10,000 subscribers, or it's not possible for me to make more than $1,000 a month on Fiverr, or whatever it is. If you can, and it's something you want to do, persevere, push through, keep going, because you never know what your reality might be down the road as you learn, develop, if you focus on learning, developing, and doing the right things like Josh mentioned. Stick with it. Like Fiverr has been life-changing for me. YouTube has been life-changing for me. And it all started from starting and sucking at it for a long time, right? And then you learn if you want to improve, and you can end up like Josh and I. Like Josh is killing it, runs a business. I'm a solopreneur who makes a couple grand on Fiverr every month, and on YouTube, it's so fun, and it's opened the doors to what's possible. Speaking for myself, like I bought in a house the last year, moved out of the city, have land. Like I didn't think I would be here, and Josh, like you're sitting in a sweet studio in a very prestigious area in England. Like who knew? Like when we first had our first Zoom a year ago, you were in your bedroom or your office, right? Like at your house, your cat running around or something. I remember, or, like it was so different, but you stuck with it. You got to stick with it, man. So a month is not a lot of time. Stick with it. I believe. Sorry, that was a tangent if I've ever heard of a tangent, but I'm a big believer of,
value.
making it happen. Yeah. Value. Tony B. I was connected by a graphic designer. I paid him £250 to set up a website and create an online presence for me, including social media. But then he changed the password and demanded more money. It's like a hostage situation. If you hired him on Fiverr, I would say you go straight to Fiverr and,
yeah,
at least report it. Like this guy shouldn't be selling on Fiverr if this is how he's operating. That's kind of a very unethical way of going about business. Contact Fiverr is number one. And number two, you might have to stomach that he's keeping the website. This is just a horrible experience. I'm so sorry to hear that this has happened to you. I don't know what else to say.
Wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, terrible. So BreadTube says, when creating a landing page, do you actually have to design it and use HTML and make it look nice and artsy, or do you just write text? So me personally, I am just a copywriter. I focus on writing bodies of text that will help people accomplish a particular goal, and I'm pretty good at that. I am not good at graphic design. I know nothing about HTML, and I can't offer value there. So I just deliver the text. But if I could learn how to do HTML and make it look nice and artsy, that's a way I could charge much more for my services, add new services, and reach a broader client base. Because I have had clients that want the whole package, and I can't deliver the whole package. So yeah, I just do the text, but the more you can do, this speaks towards the value you can offer, the more value you can bring, right? All right. So we got Tony B. Oh, wow. Tony B says he's been approached by the BBC to tell his story and doing a podcast. Dude, I think your quest for $250 website may evolve into a successful podcast. So Tony B, I'm going to say that if you launch that podcast and you stick with it and it, becomes something, I would be more than happy to listen to it. And, maybe we could have you on a live stream in the future to tell your cautionary tale, because that is absolutely bananas. I've never heard of that happening. Yeah.
Join the Discord and keep us updated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we should. I should create a channel for like crazy situations like this, crazy customer stories. Jeez. Touch in the Sky says, how to find the perfect keyword in the most competitive niche like blog writing. So this is, again, one of those questions where it's going to depend. The keywords you select need to be related to the gigs that you offer and the skills you have. So, for example, blog writing is very broad. Many times during this stream, Josh has mentioned trying to niche down. Think of the end result. Are you blog writing, or are you writing how-to articles? Are you writing fitness blogs? Are you writing nutritional blogs? What do you specifically have the most experience in? Once you figure that out, pick a keyword that you think best describes that service and best reflects how someone might be searching for that service. And that's how I would go about that.
I agree fully. That's exactly how I would do it. Again, end product. Instead of saying, I will write your blog, I will write your tech blog, or,
exactly.
Insert specific article type here.
Yeah, it's gotta be specific to you and the service you sell, not the niche, because there's no magic bullet keyword. Because what happens where everyone starts using the same quote unquote top keyword, suddenly it dilutes the power of that keyword, right? So you got to niche down. Mr. Mustafa SEO says, thanks so much, guys. You are welcome, my guy. James says, smashing the like button. Yeah, you guys should smash the like button. join the channel, and subscribe to both of, Josh and mine's YouTube channel. Josh is
Right there.
linked in the description, and I'm somewhere on the screen here too. Give us some love. We're here. We do this a lot. So yeah. Why some clients contact us and they don't work with us? Short answer. What were you saying?
Sorry, it's shopping.
Yeah, shopping, literally window shopping. People often message a lot of sellers before selecting the one they want to work with. I do the same thing. You want to find someone who aligns with how you want to do business. So if you find that you're getting a lot of interest, but that interest is never turning into an order, I would spend some time reviewing all of your messaging histories and see where that turning point was. What was the last message you sent before they ghosted you? This is a moment where you got to look towards yourself and say, okay, what can I improve on? Is it my negotiation? Am I a little too expensive? Am I a little too hard to understand? Am I too aggressive? Am I not aggressive enough? Like, you got to figure out why that is and work on that, because it sounds like you got a lot of window shoppers and nobody's pulling the trigger. Yeah. I see Josh nodding. Le Harvard says, do you think there's a market for French copywriting gigs, or should I stick to English only? Short answer is I would stick to what you're best at. Long answer is I think if you can do both, why not create a gig for both? I would assume there'd be less of a market for French, but I would also assume that it might be a more niche market and you might have a better chance of competing in that market than in the English market.
Yeah, there's probably less sellers as well. I mean, most people are writing in English. So if you can create a French copywriting gig, I imagine there'll be less competition. And French websites need French copy. So make the gig and see what happens.
Yeah, France is a big country. We also have French speakers here in Canada and Quebec, big province, like 10 million people. So,
there you go.
Give it a shot. If you don't swing, you're not going to hit a home run.
Perfect.
So Art is Fearless says, where is the link to the Discord group again? So it should be in the description of this video, number one. So right under where it says Josh's channel, it says join the new Discord. In the description of this video, you can join from there. It's totally free to join. Check it out.
And say hello when you join.
Yeah, we got a bunch of different channels. So it'd be nice to say hello. Let's chat. Tahar says, Mike, thanks a lot, and I love you and your videos. And so I just want to say I started selling on Fiverr this year, and I completed over 30 orders. Your videos help a lot. 30 orders, that's pretty fantastic. Keep at it, man. I love hearing that. So okay, so I think we get what's going on here. We just answered your question about people messaging you but not buying, and now it's saying you're not getting clicks but you're getting impressions. So it seems like you need to work on your ability to close a deal. Both maybe your thumbnail isn't very good, it's not clicky, I like to say. Maybe your prices are too high, or maybe just the interactions you have with buyers aren't doing a good job of selling your services, right? If you're getting a lot of impressions, it tells me you probably have the right keywords in there and your service is a desirable service. You need to focus on ways that you can sell that service better, because the people are seeing it. They just don't want to buy it right now.
So I think it's actually, when it comes to clicks, it's actually people clicking on the gig itself out of all of the listings there. So you're getting impressions, that means you're ranking. Great job. That's usually the hard part. Not getting clicks could only be thumbnail, price, and title. So again, have a look at the gig in the category. Does your thumbnail stand out? Can you improve the thumbnail to be more clickable? Is there anything in your title that you could do to entice someone in? Is your price right? They're the three main points for clicks. So have a look at those.
Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out to James for promoting the Discord server in the description. And I see him waving at people joining right now. So James, you're the man. I appreciate you being so engaged.
Cheers, James.
All right. Arcana says, it's just, I've observed Asian folks don't have gig videos. In my freelance journey, I've been told once that I'm charging too much being from a second world country. Thanks for answering. So whoever told you that, I would focus on charging based on the value you can provide. I have reviewed people on this channel from countries that are, I won't say second world, but countries that are not Canada or the US where everyone speaks English. India, Bangladesh, China, South Korea, Italy, France, so many different places. I've reviewed sellers from so many different places who are copywriters who write like A+ work, like better than me, have such a grasp of the language, are so talented as writers that it's like they've told me the same thing. Like, oh, how can I charge as much as you? I'm not from an English speaking country. It's like, look at your work, like compare it to my work, and you'll see that it doesn't matter, right? If you can provide the value that people are looking for and you're really a master of your skill, that is all that matters. So, I'm sorry to hear that someone told you you're charging too much being from a second world country, but people buy based on value. And if you give the value that people want better than I do, you can charge more than me.
The joy of being a freelancer is that you don't have to work with everybody as well. You can tell people, no, these are my prices, not willing to pay. Someone else will serve you instead. Exactly. And also, you observed that Asian folks don't have gig videos. That sounds like an opportunity to me. Make a gig video and you'll stand out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. All right, let's see. Oh, this is an interesting one. Hi, guys. I have everything to become top rated. I'm even a pro seller. Why haven't they chosen me yet? So, I am in that exact same situation. I am a level 2 pro rated seller, and I have been, top rated caliber, we'll call it, for probably a year. My thoughts on why this is I think Fiverr is in a situation where there are too many top rated sellers. And they've changed it to a hand vetted process. I don't know when it's been that way ever since I started, but it seems like they're accepting less people because Fiverr is growing as a platform. And if everyone who reaches top rated seller gets in there, which is inevitably becoming more and more people, it dilutes the value of being a top rated seller. So I joined pro instead. That was my way of kind of continuing to progress. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Do what you can do. Like Josh mentioned earlier, focus on the right things, do great work, respond fast, keep your metrics healthy, but it's a hand vetted process. And if you're in a niche where there are a ton of top rated sellers, maybe Fiverr's waiting for some people to drop out.
Yeah, I do have three like top tips for this one, actually. So obviously the first one we mentioned earlier, you've got to just try and get your stats up to 100%. And you have your message response time as low as possible. 1 or 2 hours response time will be great. 100% order delivery, 100% on time, 100% inbox response rate. All of that. Try and get those as high as you possibly can and make that the focus of your work on Fiverr at the moment. Second thing, average order value. This one is something that a lot of top rated sellers are kind of thinking might be an influencing factor. And I believe it too. But there's nothing that like confirms this to be fact. But what we believe is that if you can increase your average order value, you become more favorable to Fiverr and for their revenue as a platform, and they're more likely to pick you as a top rated seller because every order that comes in, they get more revenue. So it's in their best interest to promote you and get you more revenue too. Now, the third tip, I'm going to be posting a video on this one basically this week, is Seller Plus, the new subscription service on Fiverr for sellers, that you can join Seller Plus and it's $29 a month. There's a whole slew of benefits that you get. But one of the benefits says that you will now be put ahead of the competition when it comes to being picked for top rated seller or pro. So if you're already pro and you're eligible for top rated seller, but you've not been picked yet, consider joining Seller Plus because they're now starting to pick Seller Plus sellers first rather than people that aren't subscribed. You could argue that sounds a little bit unfair because you're having to pay $29 a month extra for something that might not guarantee that you get top rated seller, but it does put you above the crowd. It does put you above the rest. And also, I personally believe that Seller Plus does have quite a bit of value. It's a Marmite one. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I think it's great. But yeah, have a look into that.
I haven't tried it yet, but that's a great tip. The one other thing I'll mention, so Josh just mentioned things that are in Fiverr's best interest, increasing average order value is important, but also if you can find a way to incorporate subscriptions or focus on getting repeat buyers, that is supremely in Fiverr's interest. And let me tell you why. It costs Fiverr money to market Fiverr to bring in new buyers from off the platform. They're buying Subway ads, they're buying billboards, they're buying Google ads. That costs money for every conversion. If you're able to sell a service and then keep selling that service to a client that's already brought into Fiverr, that is more profitable for Fiverr than a totally brand new client, because they don't have to pay to acquire that client multiple times. You're doing the work to get the repeat orders. So if you can focus on building your subscription revenue and your repeat buyer revenue, which they now have metrics for, probably will increase your chances.
Yeah, I completely forgot that point, and that I've never heard it explained that way. So thanks, Mike. That's eye-opening. But yeah, repeat
Marketing guy.
buyers, so important. Oh my God. If you can get repeat buyers, set up your gig so it's attractive to people that want to keep buying stuff, then yeah, that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. This is a cool one, and I actually have a video planned for this. Freelancing on mobile, is it possible? So it's going to depend on what you do, but yes, it is possible. It's probably harder. Like, for example, I'm a copywriter. Wouldn't be as easy to write, 5 emails on my phone than it would be on my 32-inch ultra wide display with a full-size keyboard, but you could totally do it. Even like video editing, I used to edit most of the videos on this channel with an app called LumaFusion before going to DaVinci. I did it on my iPad, but they have an iPhone app. You could literally start a business from your phone on Fiverr. It will be harder and less convenient, but you can. Totally.
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I've got a brother-in-law who has started offering spokesperson videos on Fiverr, and he has actually done everything with his mobile. So he's filming videos of himself using his phone, editing the video with free video editing apps that you can have on your phone. Then he's uploading it to the Fiverr app from his phone. So he doesn't need a laptop in that entire process. And he's making, a decent amount of, money starting out that way. It's a great way to start. Also think in terms of what like services or products can be bought for mobile applications or mobile platforms. So for example, if you can create Instagram stories and sell Instagram stories to a business, you can make those on your phone. Can you sell a TikTok video? Make them on your phone. This is just the beginning. Possibilities are endless, really.
Yeah. And like to Josh's point, we talked about this way earlier. You don't need all the best tech. These cameras, this is iPhone 12, 4K. This camera that you're looking at me on right now, much better camera, 4K. Sure, the depth of field and the crisp sharpness and things like that might be different, the color reproduction, but for 99% of people, they're not going to notice the difference. You can start your business using your phone if you're a creative or you need a camera, things like that, like Josh's brother-in-law. You can totally do it from mobile. I think that would be an interesting case study if you find some success with that.
Definitely. Join the Discord and keep us updated.
Yeah, I love it. Josh is the biggest promoter of the Discord server today.
I'm all over it. I love it, mate. I really love it.
Cool. That is the best feedback I've gotten so far. I want it to be helpful, and to hear that from you, that makes me feel good.
Freelancing can get lonely, so it's good to share it with other people,
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Sorry, I'm just skimming through the comments here. We'll do a couple more. So Raz Ghul says, is there any tool to check gig ranking and to search for keyword search volume? So we've kind of beat this one home. Is gig ranking is going to depend, since the Fiverr search algorithm is an algorithm. It'll appear differently for different people. You can search for keywords and see how many gigs appear. That's probably what I would do.
The only tool that's just come out is Seller Plus. It's not the most powerful like keyword search tool type thing, but it gives you a little bit of an indication on how your existing gigs are performing based on the keywords. So if you've got gigs that you can like investigate the analytics for, Seller Plus will let you look a little bit deeper into the keywords. But as far as I'm aware, I've not come across any tools that like suggests keywords. It might exist, but I've not seen it yet. And could be a good business idea, actually.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this will be the last one for today. Want to end it on a high. So Fee says, oh, hey, Faulks, awesome seeing you here. You're the guy that introduced me to the Fiverr world. Will this stream be archived? So Fox, some props for you for being an awesome YouTuber. And
glad.
yes, this stream will be saved to the channel. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. We've gone for almost 2 hours. Josh, thank you so much, man, for joining the stream. He mentioned this. Freelancing can be lonely. I've been emailing with Josh for about a year now. It's nice to have some friends in the world of freelancing and creating YouTube content. So thank you so much for joining. Everyone who's been in the chat, I really hope this has been helpful. We've talked about this a lot. There's a link to the Discord server that you can join to chat with us offline, chat with each other, help each other grow as Fiverr sellers. And also there's a little banner going across the bottom of this stream. I run a free monthly newsletter from my blog. Feel free to join that as well if you care to see an email from me once a month. Anyways, Josh, thanks so much, man. I hope we can do another one of these soon if you'd be down.
Oh, yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. Well, take care, everyone.
See you later.